Here is a picture I drew for my wife, actually for our anniversary, of the lovely Katy Perry. She's a big fan, and I think she's quite cute. My wife, that is. Don't tell her about the Katy Perry thing. So hopefully you enjoy. One Piece, Chapter 160, Spider's Cafe at 8 o'clock. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the excellent and awesome tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw us with, of course, Ace giving Luffy, who is his younger brother, we found out, some sort of piece of paper, and telling him about, his plans and what he was doing and how he was going after Blackbeard. And then the chapter had really ended off with him leaving on his little skiff-looking thing and taking out what looked like to be, I don't know, 50, 60 agents of Baroque Works, the Billions agents, as they were coming after him, hoping to, of course, kill him and be promoted within the agency. So that's how things left off. This picks up pretty much in the exact same spot, whereas we have the Straw Hats on the Going Merry sailing upriver a little bit over here, and they are trying to they have to go and immediately wind up finding out that there's this Sandora River that they have to go to kind of cut up inland. There's a nice map actually that was put in here, and I find the maps to be extremely helpful. Let me see if I can get that in focus over there. I find the maps to be extremely helpful, but I am a person who likes seeing that sort of thing. So we see over here that they are sailing from the port city of Nanohana, and that Karoo had to go straight north to Alabarna, of course, to deliver the message to Nefeltari Cobra. And then they're sailing west and then up north in the Sandora River so they can find the closest point to get off and then trek through the desert to the Yuba Oasis, where we are told that that's where the rebel base is, or the rebel leader is. So we also see very, very briefly at the beginning, Luffy has no idea what the piece of paper that Ace gave him is or what it's about. He even says, because Nami's saying, what is it? And he says, I don't know, it's a blank piece of paper. But he said it was important. Ace said it was important, so I'm going to hang on to it. So he has Nami actually sewing it into the band on his straw hat, which is probably pretty good idea, considering that is his treasure, and so one thing that he has not, of course, lost. You know what I mean? His clothes have been burned at different points. He lost his shirt, back in Little Guard and stuff like that. So, his thought is it'll be safe if it's in here. So it definitely is. They obviously she weaves it in there, and then they talk a little bit amongst themselves. And then Luffy's like, okay, so we're going to this place so we can kick the rebel leader's butt. And she's like, no, we're going to reason with him, And then even Zoro makes mention of, he says, they've got 700. Do you really think we can beat 700,000, people? Because they supposedly have 700,000 in their ranks now. And she says, no, you'll see when we get there, the type of damage that Baroque Works has done to the country. And basically what I can gather from it is that they've kind of done like a torn it up from within. They've made the actual monarchy look weak or look foolish, whether it be with different types of lies they've plastered around it and gotten everybody believing. But ultimately, it's destroying a country from within, and you see these type of things and these type of ties happen in real life. You read about it in the news. Some of you that live in other countries maybe have even experienced that firsthand. Just recently here in the U.S. we had the nonsense with the government shutdown. Certainly not on the same scale as something like this, where the whole country was rebelling and fighting against itself and the power. But it's only a matter of time when you do shit like that before something like that does happen. So. And she's like, no, I don't want any more bloodshed, and she's very vehemently, says, no, I do not want any more of that, and Luffy's like, oh, okay, so we'll go, and she just feels real strongly about it, and everybody's kind of like, they're on board with her, Chopper's excited about going on an adventure, Zoro's kind of like, whoa, I didn't know how much passion you had about this, but okay, that's how you feel, it's, we'll do whatever you need to, and then you got Sanji over there, going, oh, I'll take care of all your meals throughout the desert, so, ultimately, though, like I said, it was important to me because you can tell that she's a person who doesn't want to. Ultimately, Baroque Works is going to have to be taken down by confrontation, and there's going to be some bloodshed. But she does not want any of her people to be harmed because a lot of them maybe have just been kind of led down the wrong path, is what I got from it. So.
Then we go and we flash over to, very briefly, we see Sir Crocodile and Miss All Sunday. She's talking to Mr. or Sir Crocodile about, the plan is going to be, launched or is going to go into effect in 2 days. And, and we have 150 of the Billions agents waiting on standby in Nanohana, and everybody's meeting at all the other officer agents are meeting at the Spider's Cafe per your orders at 8 o'clock. And he's like, oh, very good. And she's like, it's 5 o'clock now. So then we go to the Spider's Cafe, and this is where we're introduced to some of the other agents that we have not yet seen. The cafe just looks like this rundown little place out in the middle of the desert, out in the middle of nowhere. You got the tumbleweeds going by, you can just kind of hear the just like something out of like an Old West movie. But we go and we have very, very quickly are introduced to Miss, I guess Miss Christmas or Miss Merry Christmas, and Mr. Four. And Mr. Four is just this big, hulking, burly beast of a man with this giant-looking club on his back, and he kind of looks like one of those, like, which way did he go? Which way did he go? Type of guys. And I don't know if that's how he is, but that's just what he appears to be like. And then Miss Merry Christmas over there just seems to be a complaining old lady. She's like an old grandma, and she's complaining about her back and this and that. So they go in and they wind up talking to the proprietor of the cafe, which we wind up quickly finding out is actually Miss Doublefinger. So I'm not sure exactly what Doublefinger means as far as it being a day. But that's who she is, and we wind up seeing then too. They're in there, Mr. Four, and Miss Merry Christmas, and they're asking her because she's the proprietor of the cafe as well. It's kind of like her cover, in Alabasta over there, and they're like, oh, get me this and get me that, and basically it's Miss Merry Christmas just kind of being a bitch. And she's like, oh, and she's trying to make conversation. So how are things going? And she's like, well, in our they're going well. In our business, if you fail, you're killed. So don't be an idiot. That type of thing, right? So she's just a real bitter type of person. And then we go and we see Mr. Two Bonclay, who everybody informed me that his whole, Okama thing is his come my way style is basically he is a tranny, he's a transvestite. And listen, man, I got nothing against anybody, whatever. That's his deal. I don't particularly, know anyone like that. However, that's kind of the initial impression that I got from him when I saw him a few chapters ago, and was certainly right, and that's why, of course, he doesn't have a female partner because he's the point is that he's outside dancing, doing like this sonata with all his little henchmen, and they're like dancing in unison, and he's singing and everything, and he's talking about how this world was made for men and women, but I am both, I just picture him with that sort of like French accent and. But I can see why why they censored some of that because that's not exactly a socially acceptable the thing as far as. But we definitely know that he plays for both teams, which I was and seems to maybe have both parts as well. I don't know. But so we see him, he's outside, and he goes and he dismisses, as they go and they do their little dance into the cafe, he goes and dismisses his thugs, his henchmen. And the reason that this is important is because within like a page or two, this becomes a thing, this becomes, there's an action scene, so to speak, because of it, there is some turmoil that's caused because of these henchmen. And what winds up happening is, so he's in there and he's talking to he calls him Fatty and old bat, to Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas over there, and so basically you can tell that a lot of them don't get along, and then she says, well, Mr. One should be on his way and this and that, and then they go and they say at 8 o'clock when they're supposed to meet, and it's like 8 o'clock on the dot, all of a sudden you just see like the shadow of this like hulking figure just kind of walking up, and it looks like he's dragging something behind him. And then the next panel, bunch of like the door to the cafe bursts open, or like almost looks like the wall burst in, but there's a bunch of bodies flying everywhere. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then we see this big like Mr. One thing, and he of course everybody's introduced, and they kind of get a big panel on the page, and then there's a box that says Mr. One, so he goes and he's just like, yeah, I found these dingalings out in the desert, whatever you want to call them, and they're not dead. He says they're not dead, so I don't know if he like beat the crap out of them or what. He's like, but I found them lurking around in the desert. Are these yours, Bone Clay? so Mr. Two gets pissed off. He's like, those are my henchmen, So I don't know if Mr. One did it just to be a dick and it was pissed off, or if he thought that, hey, you know what, these people shouldn't know about our secret meeting place because they're not actually agents. So he kind of just took them out, as a sign and a show of force, like, hey, you screwed up. I'm not exactly sure, and I don't even know if it's that important, but it winds up starting a fight between the two of them, and Mr. 2 comes at him with one of his, swan attacks or what have you. Mr. 1 dodges, hits him. Mr. 2 winds up going, and Bon Clay winds up going and nailing him and knocking Mr. 1 out, like, through the wall, So Mr. 1 gets up, and he's just like, that's it, you want to die? And that the shit's about to go down, because as we know, the lower the numbers, the more deadly the agent. And you're thinking, oh, Jesus, I don't even know what this guy's power is yet, but he just looks like a badass, man. He's got this tattoo across his chest, and he's got like his kind of, I don't know, he just looks like a badass, like samurai warrior minus the sword, you know what I mean? Just looks like somebody you would want to like just have a wide berth of if you saw him on the street. So definitely kind of cool, some of these other agents. And then we go, and that's when Miss Doublefinger reveals herself as not the actual cafe caretaker, which I didn't think to begin with that she was to begin with, but then of course she's Miss Doublefinger, so she is is Mr. 1's partner, and she kind of holds him back, and she's like, no, listen, you just stop. We got to get to the rebel base, and we're going to the I think she said the Rain Town. Was it? Forget exact the name of it now. It escaped me for some odd reason, which really pisses me off because I had it on the tip of my tongue. Here we go. And she goes and she says, now we'll go to Rain Base, the town of dreams. For some reason, I couldn't remember that for the life of me. I'm starting to just getting used to being in this new area in Alabasta, of course, not just being like a little island, it being a country, a larger island, of course, with, several different towns or provinces, ports, all that. So I'm trying to learn all the names of everything that's important. But so Rain Base is where they're going to. And then, of course, that's when she's revealed as, as Miss Doublefinger. And so the things are definitely starting to heat up with these agents over here. I'm curious to see what the plan is that is going to be in effect. And ultimately, that's kind of what my chapter question is. I know that we've talked a little bit before about some of the agents that we've maybe seen before and that sort of thing. But really what I would like to know from you, brothers and sisters, is what do you think about these lower numbered agents? Now, these new agents that we have not seen yet, of course, Mr. 1, Miss Doublefinger, Mr. 4, and then Miss Merry Christmas, I think was her name. So let me know what your answer is in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching you in the next one, Nation.
So apparently I've been told that this is what happens to you if you don't watch the videos, like the videos, share and subscribe and spread the word of the nation. A giant fish man will come and shoot you in the face, just like he did to Belmar.